Do you ever find yourself stuck in a creative rut? You know, those times where you started 10 different projects and you haven't finished a single one of them. It's a feeling I know all too well, as for the last couple of years, I've been trying to write a story based in a world that I've created, and I haven't really got anywhere. Well, until recently, that is. I'd started probably at least 20 different stories, and every time I was trying to write a novel or even a series of novels in this world, and every time I got to the same point, I would write perhaps a page, perhaps a chapter or two, and then I would stop. I'd get stuck. I didn't really know where the story was going, and that really gets demoralizing after a while. And it got to the point where I even thought, do I want to write in this world? Do I want to create? Am I even a writer? And then recently something changed. I actually came up with a bit of a plan and a proper goal for what I wanted to do. And I think this is applicable to any creative project, whether it be a painting or writing, drawing, creating videos, for example. Without a clear intention, a clear plan, a clear structure, I think it can be very easy to start something and not finish it because you just don't really know where it's going. So the first step for me really is to define what the project is. And in my case, I had been building this fantasy world called Taro for several years, and that's where I wanted to base the story. But I just didn't really have a clear, concise way of summing up what Taro was. And so my first task was to come up with a short sentence or paragraph summary of what Taro was. What I came up with is that Taro is a mythic world grown from the ashes of another. It's a place where magic flows freely through all living things, and it's very rooted in nature. Now, that really kind of helped me to set the tone for the story that I created. And again, I think it could help with perhaps if you were painting, write a sentence about what you want to paint, where it's coming from, what story you're trying to tell with that piece of work. Secondly was to create an achievable goal about what it was that I was trying to create. Now, I've tried to run before I can walk with writing, and I realise that now because I spent the best part of 2 years trying to write, or trying to start my writing journey with a novel or even a series of novels. And yeah, I didn't get anywhere with it. It's like someone who's, only run a couple of 1Ks, trying to then go straight into a marathon. It's not advisable. And so I suppose what I'm trying to say is to set an achievable goal. For me, that was a short story of a couple of thousand words. It was something I hadn't managed to do before, but it was achievable. It wasn't too much of a mountain to climb. And I guess if you were kind of looking into that running parallel, you might say that we set the goal to run a 5K and work up to it, do some runs at 1K, then 2K, then 3K, and push yourself slowly up to that goal. And that really, really helped me when it came to writing, because suddenly I didn't have to write 80 to 100,000 words, multiple chapters, with big fleshed out character arcs and all of that. I could really just focus on telling a story and making it reasonably simple, getting a bit of my world building in there, learning how to write a bit of dialogue, develop characters, what a story structure even needed to look like, and we'll come on to that next. So yeah, getting an achievable goal. And then thirdly, in kind of my getting creative projects finished framework, was to what I was going to say. The third step in my kind of framework is to get a bit of a plan what you're going to create. Now, for for my short story side of things, that involved getting an idea of what the hook of the story was going to be, the build-up, the conflict that was going to occur, the climax, and then onto the aftermath and ending of the story. And once I had that, it helped me to then flesh out the themes that I wanted to explore a bit more, the characters that I was going to introduce, and the elements of the world as well that I wanted to include. And the same could be said for creating a video or whatever it is you want to make, you know. Use those 3 steps: define what it is you want to create, set an achievable goal, and then create a plan to achieve that goal. And it seems so simple when you put it like that. You know, if you were, I work a corporate job, that's something we do all the time at work. We define what the problem is. We then set an achievable goal to, you know, deal with whatever it is. And we put a bit of a plan in place to achieve that goal. But we just don't always apply it to our, I guess perhaps it's because it's a creative thing. We think it should just be I can't even say that, as a tongue twister. Free flowing, there we go. We think it should be free flowing and, you know, when inspiration strikes and all of that. But actually, a lot of the time the inspiration strikes when we are in the moment, when we are writing. For me, it definitely, you know, occasionally I'll be driving or in the shower and struck with an idea, but often the best ideas come to me when I'm actually doing the thing, when I'm creating, when I'm in the process. And having those kind of 3 points to give me some direction, I suppose, as to what I'm creating, and to define kind of the bounds of what I'm creating, actually helped me to jump into that creative space much easier, to take action. I knew, right, I've got a word count here of 2,000 words that I want to fill. I've got some meat on the bones. I know kind of roughly what I want to write, and also I've got an idea of kind of the overall theme of what I'm writing as well. So yeah, I hope those tips help you to kind of become more creative. That's not really what I was trying to say. I hope they help you to finish a project, or if there's something you've been thinking about doing for a while, plug them into that framework. Define what it is you're trying to create, set an achievable goal, and put a plan in place to achieve that goal. I hope that helps, and I'll catch you in the next one, where I'll probably share a bit more about the story that I've written and what that process really looked like for me. Dive into that a bit more, and yeah, I'll hopefully see you there. God bless.